What if I told you that one of tennis's most charismatic former stars has just called out the biggest names in the sport? And he didn't even need to mention them directly for his message to hit like a hammer. Because Marcos Baghdatis, the fan-favorite showman and former world number 8, has just delivered a brutally honest reality check to Carlos Alcaraz, Iga Swiatek, and every top player criticizing the tennis calendar. And his message boils down to one line: stop complaining in the media and start using your power. This is Net Rush Report, and today we break down exactly what Baghdatis said, why it matters, and how it exposes the uncomfortable truth behind the modern tennis schedule. Let's get into the story that you're watching. Net Rush Report, your home for daily tennis news, drama, rivalries, and stories shaping the sport. If you love tennis, make sure to subscribe. Now let's jump straight in. Tennis fans already know that the calendar debate never dies. Every season, top players raise the same concerns: too many tournaments, too much travel, and not enough time to recover physically or mentally. Carlos Alcaraz has spoken about burnout. Iga Swiatek has admitted exhaustion and emotional fatigue. Even legends like Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal have warned that the season is simply too long. But now, one former ATP star, someone who lived through an equally brutal era, has stepped forward and challenged the narrative in a way that's making waves. And that man is Marcos Baghdatis. The former Australian Open finalist was known not just for his shot-making and passionate on-court energy, but also for his honesty. And once again, he hasn't held back. In his latest interview with Tennis 365, Baghdatis expressed sympathy for the players, but he also revealed a crucial truth everyone seems to ignore. Baghdatis: the schedule is tough, but complaining to the media won't fix anything. Right away, Baghdatis acknowledges the obvious. Yes, the tennis calendar is demanding. Yes, the season is too long. Yes, physical and emotional burnout is real. He didn't dismiss the concerns raised by Alcaraz, Swiatek, and others, but he did call them out for constantly turning to interviews, press conferences, and social media as their main outlet. Baghdatis believes there's a difference between complaining about the system and actively working to change the system. And for him, the problem is that too many players are doing the first, and not enough are doing the second. He says it plainly. They just complain in the media. A short sentence, but loaded with meaning. From Baghdatis's perspective, modern stars have tremendous influence. They're global icons with massive followings. They bring in sponsorship money. They sell tickets. They hold the power to move the sport. And with that power comes responsibility. The calendar debate. A quick breakdown to understand why this hits so hard. You have to understand the context behind the calendar complaints. The tennis season starts in January, ends in November, requires constant travel across continents, has mandatory events, includes Davis Cup, Billie Jean King Cup, and now the United Cup, offers minimal off-season recovery time, features expanding Masters events, and now new tournaments are being added. Especially in the Middle East, players like Alcaraz and Swiatek have said the same thing repeatedly. The schedule is unsustainable. The risk of injury is growing. The mental toll is increasing. The off-season is too short. Swiatek especially has been vocal about how the constant switching between surfaces and time zones affects her emotionally. Alcaraz, at just 21, has already experienced physical breakdowns from the relentless pace. Because he believes simple complaining isn't enough. Baghdatis: it's in your hands. This is where the message becomes powerful. Baghdatis urges the players to stop acting powerless. He reminds them that the structure has changed. Back in his era, players didn't have a unified voice. There wasn't a strong, independent organization to represent player interests. There is the PTPA, the Professional Tennis Players Association, founded by Novak Djokovic and Vasek Pospisil. And Baghdatis thinks that is the key. That he says that instead of venting frustration to journalists, Alcaraz, Swiatek, and every top player should be working through the PTPA to push for real change. His message: use your power. Collaborate with the PTPA. You can push for solutions if you act together. That single line, "it's in your hands," is the heart of his argument. Because if the players truly want reform, they must be united, organized, and proactive. And this is where the story takes a revealing turn. Baghdatis's honest reflection: we didn't have the PTPA. Looking back on his own career, Baghdatis opens up about how different things were. In his time, There was no player-led association. The ATP Players' Council was limited. Tournament organizers held more power. There was little ability to negotiate or demand change. He sees today's athletes in a much stronger position. They are wealthier. They are more influential. They are more protected. They have a dedicated platform, the PTPA, to raise collective issues. So to him, sitting back and complaining publicly feels like a waste of opportunity. Baghdatis says modern stars need to recognize their influence and use it responsibly. The reality: the tours won't change easily. One of the strongest points he makes is blunt but true. The ATP, WTA, and Grand Slam tournaments have no real incentive to shorten or drastically change the season, because longer seasons generate more money. More tournaments, more broadcasting rights, more sponsorship deals, more global markets, more ticket sales, more visibility. The tennis calendar is built for commercial expansion, not player well-being. Baghdatis warns that players need to accept this reality. The tours will make only minor adjustments. Radical reforms? Those won't come from administrators. They will come only if players demand them collectively. And he insists, if players don't push, nothing will change. An even tougher future. Saudi Arabia enters the picture just when you think the schedule is already overflowing. Baghdatis points out something many fans overlook. The ATP is preparing to expand even more, starting as early as 2028. A brand new Masters 1000 tournament in Saudi Arabia is expected to join the calendar. And here's the catch: it will be held at the beginning of the season, right when players already feel the pressure of restarting after the short off-season. Baghdatis sees this as evidence of the direction tennis is heading. More money, more events, more travel, more obligations. In other words, the schedule is going to get harder, not easier, and he wants players to face this fact head-on instead of hoping the tours magically simplify the calendar. Why Baghdatis' message hits so hard? Baghdatis was never shy during his career, and he remains honest today. But what makes his statement different is that he isn't dismissing player concerns. He is agreeing with them, complaining too. Media: no change, using collective power, real change, and we've already seen proof of this. When Djokovic fought for more player protection, he was heavily criticized but still pushed forward. When the PTPA rallied against late-night matches, things finally began shifting. When multiple stars refused to play overnight schedules, the ATP just recently committed to limiting finish times. Change happens only when players force it. And according to Baghdatis, Carlos Alcaraz and Iga Swiatek are now the faces of tennis. Their voices can't just be emotional reactions in press conferences. They need to be strategic. How fans are reacting: the reaction to Baghdatis' comments has been surprisingly supportive. Many fans agree that the schedule is unfair. Burnout is real. Players deserve rest. Tournament organizers prioritize profit, but complaining publicly solves nothing. Some fans believe Baghdatis is right, because today's players have more power than ever before. Others argue that speaking to the media is necessary to create pressure, but most agree on one thing: the calendar debate is becoming one of the biggest issues in tennis. What this means for Alcaraz and Swiatek: both Carlos and Iga have repeatedly voiced concerns, and both have massive followings. Their words matter. Their influence is unmatched. They're shaping the future of the sport. Baghdatis isn't attacking them. He's urging them to lead. That if they step forward alongside the PTPA, they could force the biggest scheduling reform in decades. But if the complaints continue without action, nothing changes, and that's the uncomfortable truth. So now tennis fans are asking, will top stars unite to change the system, or will the sport keep repeating the same cycle every season? Will the powerful voices finally take charge, or will the calendar get even worse as the tour expands into new regions? Baghdatis has thrown down the challenge. Now the tennis world waits for a response. Thanks for watching Net Rush Report, the home of real tennis stories, real drama, and real conversations shaping the future of the sport. But if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. See you in the next report.